Welcome to Tansson TV Plus. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Mom.
Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Yep, thank you for joining us again.
We always love doing this. And Mom, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, Brandon. How are you doing today?
All is well here. Where are we getting into, Mom?
Today we're going to talk about another episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We're on episode 5, Girl in the Flower Dress.
Yes, and this one debuted on October 22nd, 2013.
Yes. And I'll get started if you're okay with it, Brandon.
Go right ahead.
All right. First of all, let me give you just a general overview of the episode itself. This one I thought was really more important to go into more detail than some of the other ones. But we're introduced to a character named Raina. She is considered the girl in the flower dress. Raina introduces herself to a magician who is able to produce fire. She convinces him that he can be a superhero with his power. She even says his name could be Scorch. Yeah, it makes sense. Okay. So in the meantime, Sky helps S.H.I.E.L.D. To find the person who found Raina. Sky meets but already knows this particular person is a gentleman. Since she meets him and is caught, it looks like she's betrayed S.H.I.E.L.D. And so Coulson, May, and Grant basically become mad at Sky because she's kind of had this relationship with this gentleman who helped to find Raina. And so that's the basic general, without giving too many details about this particular episode.
Well, Mom, thank you so much for that.
You're welcome, Brandon.
And before we get into any of the nitty gritty, what were your thoughts about this episode?
I thought it was a pivotal episode. We've been watching, 1 through 4. We've just been watching these episodes kind of isolated. Yes, they have been building some character development, and we've learned about the past of these individuals. However, at this point in time, we have not related all of it together, or at least not in a way that you would know that things are related together. And this is the first episode for me that kind of started to relate everything together.
Yeah, I definitely did see a bit of that myself. And so, for a little bit of background for those tuning in, while I remember this being a standout episode of season 1, is that I don't think I fully remembered this episode prior to rewatching it with you. And so, the thing I remember, interestingly enough, out of this episode is that there was a girl in the flower dress, Raina, and
Mm-hmm.
Scourge. I remember
Yes.
Scourge. I remember the name Scourge, but I never remembered what happened to him.
Yeah. Well, now you'll always remember who Scorch is, won't you?
Yeah, well, it's funny because when I got to the end of the episode, it's like, oh, is that what happened to him? Well, I guess the answer is that. So I guess I do remember portions of the episode.
Yes, yes. And I found this. We've watched a lot of Marvel series, and so especially since they've started coming on, of course, Disney. And what I've noticed is that this seems to be follow in the type of way that Marvel likes to develop its series, and that we have 2 or 3 episodes that really couldn't just stand alone. You can kind of watch them in general. But then there's a third, fourth, or fifth episode that kind of pops up that kind of pulls it all together. And this is one of those episodes that kind of pulled at least information so far. Now, of course, there's still, 22, 23 episodes this season. So there's many more to go. But this is the first episode that kind of do this.
Yeah, as I say, we definitely have a lot more episodes, like I said, to go of the season. But yeah, you're definitely right in that it does follow that same Marvel formula. The only difference is for those miniseries that you only have about like up to about 9, 10 episodes to deal with, and not 22.
Yeah, very true, very true. All right, Brad, do you want to talk about what we learned from this episode?
Yeah, I'll have you go ahead and start that off, and then I can go ahead and pick up from there.
All right, sounds good. This is what we learned from this episode. Sky's past is incredibly important. We learned that Sky actually wants to learn a lot about her parents. Um, in a previous episode, we do discover that Sky was in the foster care system. She talked about that with, I can't remember, it may have been Grant, but she did talk about how she was raised in the foster care system. And so in this episode, we learned that she's interested in knowing about her parents. However, but in doing research, because she is a hacker, in doing research, what she's discovered is that the lives of her parents have been redacted. So the history basically has been erased. So she can't find out anything about her parents. Um, and so this is one of the reasons that she kind of, I think, was interested in S.H.I.E.L.D. She may not have said it overtly, but I know that Coulson asked her about it. And then what we also learned is that Sky is still communicating with her hacking friend. And, we just know about this one friend she's communicating with, and that she's had a relationship with him previously. And so, and the reason this was a betrayal for Shield was because that they didn't know that she had kept this relationship once she actually joined the Shield. Well, I shouldn't say joined Shield. Once she became part of the Shield environment, she never let everyone know that she still had a relationship with this particular gentleman, and with that relationship, she was able to find this Raina person pretty quickly, just because of her hacking, because of his hacking that's going on and her hacking. So, and the fact that he was kind of working um, indirectly with Raina per se, but it's very kind of indirect. Did I get that right, Brandon?
Yeah, you definitely did.
All right, sounds good. And then for secondary storyline purposes, we of course, like you said, we're introduced to this other storyline. And for the most part, these other characters that we've been introduced to, they just kind of disappear. We see them, they come in, whatever happens, happens, and the characters disappear. But Raina actually, at the end of this particular episode, visits a gentleman in jail, and she talks about a plan that they have. She also discusses the doctor who was actually in the first episode of S.H.I.E.L.D. And then she talks about Scorch, who was the fired gentleman with this particular person. So we have now had a link for secondary storyline purposes between Raina and the doctor, who, like I said, was introduced in the first episode. But in the discussion with Raina, she indicates that they are on stage 2 or stage 3 of the plan. Can't remember which one, and so which means that the plan is, to me, means it's still going forward. And this is a reference, like I said, back to episode 1. And so this, to me, means that Raina will actually be in future episodes, or at least the gentleman she's speaking to will be in future episodes. That would be my guess. All right, Bran, what would you like to add on?
Yeah, I definitely. Yeah, well, one, I like the introduction of Reina. What were your thoughts about Reina, like learning about her and just sort of her performance within this episode?
Yeah, I did like her introduction. I mean, I knew that something was going on with her, of course, but yes, they did introduce her nicely.
Yeah, I personally really like the way that the actress sort of presents herself, and that she's sort of the shadowy figure that I think begs a lot of questions.
Yeah, she does beg a lot of questions. She really does.
But yeah, I definitely fully agree that it sort of helps bring those elements together. And but yeah, something I want to focus on is that sort of the element of betrayal. Like I think
Mm,
across the board, from I think all sides really.
yeah, go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, so I think it's pretty clear that we see that everyone's like betrayed by the fact that Sky has been communicating against the team this entire time, but then Sky's also betrayed by her friend, that has uh, been going against his supposed morals this whole time.
Hmm. Yeah, very true. Betrayal, it seems to be just there.
Yeah, and even Scourge, he felt betrayed by Shield because Shield has forced him to keep his powers to the minimum, and then his protector betrayed by him, and then the doctor person betrayed by Scorch. Just betrayal all around.
Yeah, and kind of makes you wonder, is this a little bit of foreshadowing for future things in regards to someone else being betrayed?
Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
But yeah, and so did you think, like, with everything going on with Scott, did you think it was going to end up at this point, or at least this point so quickly?
Well, I knew something was going on with Sky. I think I said that early on that I kind of knew something was going on with Sky. The question is she the only one who has something else going on? And this quickly, yes, I was surprised that it was this quickly.
Yeah, and I will say that for her whole interaction with this gentleman, I don't remember his name. Was it like Leiden or something?
I really can't remember his name, and I didn't write it down.
Yeah, I will say that in my memory, I get him confused with Ian Quinn from a few episodes ago, just because I knew it was a similar thing with their interactions, at least in my opinion. Um, but yeah, I definitely, again, because I don't fully remember, I'm interested in seeing sort of how this whole thing with Sky progresses, especially since, um, not only are the files redacted, but it's redacted by Shield.
Yeah, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. Of course, that means it's a Shield agent who's her parents, but so we'll have to see who they are.
But yeah, and Mom, is there anything else that you want to discuss about for this episode before we go to a little bit of an indirect connection?
Alrighty. The only other thing that I noticed was that May still says that she wants to be out in the field, and that Colson and May appeared as though they dated at one time, or they alluded to that. So that is all. That's the other things that I think I've got out of this particular episode.
Well, Mom, that's good to know.
All right, Brandon. What connection do you have?
Yeah, so this is sort of indirect one of a um, the director of this episode is related to someone else that we've sort of discussed within our TV discussions.
All right, who is this person, Brandon?
Okay, I'll say the name of the director, and I think you might be able to figure out who this person's related to.
Okay,
So the director of this episode is Jesse Bacho.
gotcha. Meaning like from Castle Bacho?
Let's
Stephen
see.
Bacho?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the son of Stephen Bacho.
Oh wow, wow. Okay, Castle may not be the right show, but I do know Stephen Bacho. Yeah.
But yes, Stephen Bacho made Doogie Howser MD.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Well, that's great. Any other connections?
No, I think that's it. And so, while not for this episode, most of these episodes, especially within season one, have the same group of writers and directors that continue out throughout the series. And so, I think this is the first episode that's had someone outside of the main circle write and direct.
All right. That sounds good. Well, Brandon, look forward to episode number 6 coming up.
Well, Mom, that sounds good.
All right, and once more, you can catch us talking about Shield on Wednesdays and or Thursdays coming up, and let
Well,
us yeah, and let us know in the comments if you thought that episode 5 was a pivotal episode.
yeah, definitely let us know. And Mom, just so you know, Marvel history wise, is that the show actually took a 1 week break after this episode, but we will be continuing.
Yep, we will be continuing. All right, thank you guys, everyone, for joining with us today.
And we'll see you next time.
All right, bye bye, everybody.